Well, good morning, everyone, or I guess good evening once again. Thank you for joining us at this evening time. I know it's a busy week for you, but we are joined today by a very special guest. This is Mr. Aaron. I want to make sure I pronounce his last name right. Moushon. Is that right?
No,
No,
that's okay. It's
absolutely wrong.
Moushon. It's
Moushon.
Moushon. It's a difficult French name, so that's okay.
My deepest apologies, sir.
No
He is
problem.
the assistant dean of undergrad education at Andrews University, which is a top university in the MCA institutions. They're top for a lot of things. I'll let him give you the specific accolades, but specifically their STEM programs, their association with international students, and of course what we're going to talk about today, their aviation program. And so I want to give Mr. Aaron a chance to introduce himself, and so I will let him do that now.
Thank you, Jacob, and thank you to everyone for joining us this evening, which is morning here in the USA. We're so happy to be able to meet with you through technology. So we have an opportunity to kind of meet in person rather than just sending emails back and forth and phone calls. It's a lot more personal, and we're really happy to have you here with us this evening. So, as Jacob said, I'm Mr. Aaron Moushon. You can call me whatever you like. I respond to Mr. Moushon. I respond to Mr. Aaron. Most of my students just call me Aaron, which is very informal, and it might be a little uncomfortable for you. So you're allowed to call me whatever you'd like to. But Aaron or Mr. Aaron is entirely appropriate. I'm the assistant dean for undergraduate education at Andrews University. That means that I work in a general way with all of our colleges and schools, all of our academic programs, and we also do academic advising. I work with our first year students and I work with our international partnerships. One of the things Andrews University is known for is our international partnerships. So I'm not even 12 hours removed from doing a webinar with students from Japan just last night. When we work with students in your time zone, we have to flip-flop, either meet in the evening or the morning to make that 12-hour time difference, and we do that regularly. Andrews is known both in the state of Michigan and nationally within the U.S. as a school that works with a lot of international students. We're actually ranked #1 in the US in percentage of international students. And we're regularly ranked in the top 5 for categories like international, cultural, racial, ethnic diversity. So we have a very diverse campus with students from all different cultural, religious, social backgrounds. We're also well known for our STEM and technology programs. We are a small college. In the US, small is about 3,000 students, 3,000 to 4,000 students. We consider ourselves a small college. And for a college of our size, we have a lot of programs, over 100 majors on our campus. Many of those more popular ones are in the areas of science and technology, engineering, business, and medical and pre-medical programs. We have a lot of accreditation above and beyond institutional accreditation. Let me explain what that means. In the United States, we have a system of accreditation where our government educational entities, the Department of Education here in the US, you might call it the Ministry of Education in other parts of the world, they certify that colleges and universities have quality programs. One of the great things about interacting with the Michigan College Alliance, or what we call MCA, is all of our colleges have regional accreditation. Which means that you're coming to a quality school that's recognized by our government as a quality school. However, sometimes individual programs will have their own accreditation from an accrediting body that is specific to that topic. So we have separate business accreditation, separate engineering accreditation, separate architectural accreditation, and separate aviation accreditation, because this is a seminar webinar tonight about aviation and related fields. So when you're coming to Andrews, you're coming to a small campus that's good with working with international students. We have a wonderful Office of International Student Services that helps our students with their visa processes and finances and things like that. And we also have a wide variety of programs that are of interest for students that want to study in America, to either try and stay in America and work, or to take those skills and talents back to their home community. So that's a little background about myself and Andrews University, and I'll hand it back to Jacob and see what questions we need to jump into.
No, I think that's a great way to start off. You gave us a lot of information there about, okay, you have international partnerships. In fact, number one in the US by percentage of international students, which is amazing, I think, for a lot of our students who are afraid that they're going to be coming over to a school that they might not have a community at. Looking at that, you also mentioned that they're a small institution, and this is something we like to hit on. Would you be able to talk about kind of the value of receiving your education at one of these smaller schools compared to maybe a big school in the US, a huge state school with 40 or 50,000 students?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to start by saying there is no right or wrong answer as to what type of institution you want to go to. As you're preparing for college, one of the questions you have to ask yourself is, what type of school do I want to go to? Do I want to go to UCLA that has 60,000 students, or do I want to go to what we call typically a liberal arts college? And so let me explain that little bit about liberal arts, and it'll make our MCA schools make a little more sense, and Andrews University. So liberal arts is based on a classic tradition, more of a European classic tradition of education that believes in a well-rounded student. So we're not liberal in a political sense. The liberal doesn't have any connotation of what the life on campus is. It's the more Latin version of liberal, which means broad, lots of different options. And so with a liberal arts education, what you'll find at a liberal arts college, a smaller college, is that we have a broader educational experience. So even our professional programs like engineering and aviation will require you to take some additional courses outside of just your professional track. You'll take courses in history and literature and philosophy and mathematics and the social sciences and things like that. So smaller colleges tend to specialize in a broader student experience. When you're one of 60,000, you can get lost. One of our psychology professors used to joke, he actually went to one of those 60,000 student public universities, and he always said in his PhD program, his job as a graduate student was to keep the undergrads away from the faculty. That there's this very distinct difference between faculty, they lecture, and then they go on and students are left to their own devices. One of the perks of a small college is the relationship that you can build with faculty, staff, and administrators because we are smaller. At a large school of 30 to 60,000 students, big state schools, your freshman seminars will be in lecture halls of 300 people. At Andrews University, our average class size is 13-1. Means you are in a classroom with 12 other students. You have one-on-one time with a faculty member that has a PhD. And at Andrews, all of our undergraduate faculty have terminal degrees in their area. What a terminal degree means is the highest degree necessary for their area. So an English faculty member will have a PhD. A business faculty member will have a DB, that is a doctor of business. Our graphic design faculty have a master's of fine arts. That's the highest you do in graphic design. So it doesn't mean everyone has a PhD, but it means they have the highest degree necessary for their program, and you have access to them one-on-one. At Andrews University, this is something unique that we do. All of our students are assigned a faculty advisor that guides them through their 4-year experience. So we don't use a professional advising model where you have a staff member that advises you. We use faculty advising. So the major you choose, you'll actually have a faculty member in that department that guides you through the process. Smaller schools also tend to have a richer campus environment. Big schools, yes, they have clubs and organizations and all the different things that you can do, but smaller schools, they tend to be a tighter community. You get to know more people. Andrews has over 100 clubs and organizations on campus, which is a lot for 3,000 students. It's a club for every 30 students. The most popular clubs on our campus are actually cultural clubs because we're a very diverse campus. I myself am the sponsor of the European Club, because my family's from the Czech Republic. We just had a Winterfest 2 weeks ago where we had a winter market, like the European Christmas markets on campus, where we had food stalls and craft stalls and activities, and all of campus came together. All of our clubs have sister clubs. It's kind of like international travel. Sometimes you'll travel to a location, and here in the US, we'll go to Chicago. They're sister cities with London and Moscow and things like that. Well, we set up sister clubs. So my European club is actually sister clubs with the Filipino club. That's our partner club here on campus, and we do fun events together so we can learn about each other's cultures. And it's a really fun way to interact. And those are the kind of things that you can experience at a smaller college than you will at some of the larger state schools.
And so you mentioned there that they have a faculty advisor in their area of study from the moment they're getting on campus to the moment they graduate. What is the value of having that close of a connection with your professor? What's the long-term benefit of that?
Absolutely. So there's a short-term and a long-term benefit. The short term is, as a new undergraduate student in the US, everything is going to be confusing to you. You're new. It's a new system. It's a new country. It's a new way of learning. And then even within the US, going to high school in the US and going to college is a big leap. So from day one, you have someone that can tell you what classes you need to be taking to graduate on time, where your classrooms are, where your department is. You've got that close connection and guide on campus. Long term, it helps you graduate on time. And that's something that's very important to us. We don't want you to spend 6 years doing an undergraduate degree. Neither do you. It gets very expensive, especially in the US. So we want to keep you on track to graduate on time, and having a faculty advisor helps you with that. The long-term perk is we've chosen to use a faculty advising model because no one knows the industry that you are moving into better than faculty. So it's actually a connection with our career services and career advising, that your faculty member is helping you gain internship access through our alumni network, which, even as a small college, Andrews has an alumni network of over 100,000 alumni in 150 countries. And through that network, many of our students are able to find employment. And so those faculty in the departments know who their alumni are. They know who their graduates are. They can help steer our students towards internships and employment, which is the long-term goal of going to university. There are the philosophical benefits of becoming a better, well-rounded human being and learning important things and thinking deep thoughts. But we also know that you're going to college because you want to have a good career and a good paying job, and that's built into that advising model as well.
Aaron, I have to ask, looking at the accolades of this school is a small school in kind of Michigan, right? Most people wouldn't think of Michigan as the first state they think of when they are out of country and they're thinking about the US. What makes Andrews this kind of premier school for international students from 151 countries?
Yeah, so, I'll answer. I think that Michigan is one of the best schools for education in the country, and I'm glad that MCA we're gonna change that reputation. In fact, the University of Michigan is the number one ranked public institution in the United States. Year in and year out, University of Michigan is ranked number one, higher than UCLA, higher than Cal Berkeley, higher than NYU, all the big schools that people think about. We're the number one state school. But Andrews University has a very long history of working internationally. We were founded in 1876. So you'll notice I didn't even realize this. I'm drinking my coffee out of my Oxford mug this morning. So we're not 1,000 years old like Oxford and Cambridge. But by American standards, we're fairly old. We were founded in 1876. And starting in 1901, we actually started international partnerships with Europe. Our university is named after a man named J.N. Andrews, John Nevins Andrews, who was actually left the US with his family to work in Europe and founded a school over there as well. So it's kind of built into our history and DNA to have international partnerships. And so we originally started with European partners that were coming to Andrews, and then over the years we've just spread out. And because we are open and accepting of people from a lot of different countries, it opens up pathways for us. So we have a lot of employees that are international because oftentimes you'll come to a place for school and you stick around, or your parents come to a place for school and then you're like me, you come back and become a legacy alumni and have those connections. So Andrews just has a very long history of working with international students, and as we have grown, our international population has grown with us.
Wonderful. So if I'm a student who's coming over to Andrews, kind of looking at that small school experience, coming from an international background, where we were talking about what's different between it and the big public institutions, what is
Mhm.
my classroom experience going to be? Am I going to be sitting at a desk learning from a textbook all day? I mean, can't I get that at one of those big lecture halls or?
Right. So we are a very interactive campus. You'll find that our classroom experience, because they're small, are more discussion based. Now, that's not universal. Calculus is calculus. There's not a lot of discussion that goes into that. But we talked about that liberal arts tradition where a lot of our courses are more discussion based. It is not the older model where you sit at a desk and listen to a lecture for 50 minutes and then class is over and you leave. Typically, there will be a lecture component, but there's a lot of breakouts. There's a lot of, let's discuss what your reading was last night. So there's a more interactive experience, and that's what comes out of that liberal arts experience. We want to know what you're thinking. We want to know what your thought process is. And so, yes, there's exams, there's quizzes, there's papers that you will write, but there's also an in-class discussion component that is very common, especially as you get higher into your courses. So sometimes your freshman year, you will be in some larger courses. And at Andrews, a large course means 30 to 50 in a lecture. But when you get to your third and fourth year, you're moving from a traditional classroom to more seminar style learning. You will be in smaller classes of 5 to 8, even in technical areas. If you're moving into engineering, you're going to be in smaller lab spaces working in groups of 3 to 4 to learn those techniques and things like that. So we have a lot of studio spaces as well. And studio space in the context of US education means a large space where a lot of students are working on projects with roaming faculty, that are checking in on you. It's very common in like architecture programs and design programs and even engineering and STEM programs where you're in a studio working on a research project, a hands-on project, and the faculty are checking in on you, making sure you're moving in the right direction.
And so students who are taking, we have a lot of students here who are interested in STEM courses and medical courses, and of course, aviation courses, which we're here to
Right.
talk about, are working hands-on with the materials in the classroom. I mean, most of the work at the undergrad level, anywhere you go, would be theoretical.
Right. And we have all of those areas are very hands-on. So we have, with engineering, we have numerous labs where students are learning the electricity, learning the mechanics, learning the chemicals all in one go. Architecture programs, students are drafting, building, creating from day one. Even in your traditional STEM programs, chemistry, biology, physics, all of them have a lab. And that's what's a thing that's unique about American education as well, and something we've adopted at Andrews University is that we require labs with our science programs. So it's something for international students to understand. They'll oftentimes reach out to us and say, can I take this pre-med course online? Can I take this chemistry course online? Not for the US, because US schools require an in-person lab component, and it's something we can't deliver online. So even if you go to a biology course, a foundational biology course that's required for things like medical school and physician's assistant and dentistry and things like that, you'll sit in your lecture, you're going to learn all of the tiny little minutia of cells and bones and people and bacteria and things like that. But then you will have a hands-on lab component once a week where you're in a laboratory with a partner working on projects hands-on to put into context the things you were learning in the classroom.
And so, looking at aviation, which many of these students are
Mm-hmm.
very much excited for being on this webinar tonight, is this something they can expect for that course as well? What makes the aviation course so special at Andrews that a student maybe couldn't try something similar in India or somewhere else in the
Sure.
US?
So I'll start with aviation is probably one of the most hands-on programs that you could study anywhere. You're learning to fly. You cannot learn to fly theoretically, right? Part of the aviation program, I'm going to start from the beginning of what aviation looks like in America. So let's jump into that. We'll jump into the aviation right away. So in the US, there's a variety of ways that you can do an aviation program. You could, if you wanted, do a private pilot's license, pass your instrument rating test, your meteorology test, get your hours in on your own, and go be a commercial airline pilot without going to college. I'm going to explain why that's a bad idea. So while you could do that, it's almost the same price as going to college. And there is one thing that's a requirement of getting certified in the US that it becomes easier when you go to college. One of the most hands-on and expensive components of becoming a pilot is logging flight hours. So the Federal Aviation Commission in the United States requires that in order to get your commercial pilot's license, you must log 1,500 hours. That means you have to be with a trainer in the plane. You can't fly solo. You've got to log 1,500 hours. They make an exception. If you earn a bachelor's degree in aviation, you only have to do 1,000 hours. That is a savings of 500 hours of flight time. Now, you might think, I have 500 hours, right? I'm young. I have time. You do the math. That's, 3 months worth of flying around the clock. First of all, you can't fly around the clock. You could probably get in an hour or two per day. But then there's also the cost involved. And we understand that aviation is actually one of the most expensive programs in the US. We realized in this grouping that all three of us, Jacob, Abby, and I, have degrees in history, undergraduate degrees in history. And it's probably one of the cheapest degrees to earn because our books don't cost very much. You can read Plato online for free. With aviation, jet fuel's expensive. When you're flying, you're burning fuel. When you've got someone sitting with you, you're paying for your co-pilot instructor. So it costs about $150 an hour to get your hours in. So that savings of 500 hours is almost a $40,000 savings. It basically pays for a third of the degree. So in the US, that's why many students are pursuing a bachelor's degree in aviation rather than just trying to go the private route, because then you're not studying on your own, you're getting classroom instruction, and they're taking you through everything that you need: your instrument rating, your private pilot ground school, your regular ground school, your meteorology. These are all things that you need to learn to be a pilot, and it's easier to do within the context of a program. Now, why Andrews? Why not some other school? I think one of the major perks of our program at Andrews is our aviation program is actually a part of our College of Business and Professional Studies, which means in addition to offering degrees in aviation flight and also aviation maintenance, both of which are certified by the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration. So some of you might say, I don't want to fly, but I want to be an airline mechanic. we offer that program as well. So we offer flight and administration, but we also offer flight and management and maintenance and management, which means you can fit in business management courses within your bachelor's degree of aviation. And the perk of that is you can fit in all of the prerequisites for a master's degree in business administration, which is about 30 credit hours, right? You can't just jump into an MBA, Master's of Business Administration. You have to have prerequisites. It is the most common graduate degree in the US. It is the most common graduate degree in the US that employers pay for. Half of my family have MBAs that their employers paid for. Very common. My mother and brother have MBAs that their employers paid for. My brother works in a hospital network system. My mother works for General Motors. They both got MBAs. And so by doing all of those prerequisites, let's say you move into being you want to be a commercial airline pilot. You want to fly for United or British Airways, or to go back home and work for Air India. All of these big commercial airlines are desperate for pilots right now. But you may fly for 20 years and say, I'm tired of being gone all the time. I want to move into management. You have all of those prerequisites for an MBA. Maybe you choose to do an MBA. We have an accelerated 1-year MBA program on campus that you can take advantage of with our aviation program. So if you decide you want to be a commercial pilot and you do want to do it through Andrews University, in 5 years, you can be a commercial airline pilot and have an MBA. You're kind of set for the rest of your life for education if you feel that way. So that's one of the perks. Our connection with a business program makes it easy to have a secondary complementary career in addition to aviation.
Wonderful. I mean, I think one of the big things we get from Indian students a lot coming over to the US is, am I going to be stuck in what they would call a stream? And a stream is, okay, as soon as I've chosen something as a ninth grader, my life is set. I can't get out of it. And it's awesome to hear that students here actually have an opportunity to pursue two things. And if something changes along the way, they have a second option for them. I think that's something most students from India are not used to hearing. So that's kind of amazing to hear about. If I'm a student who comes over to this aviation program, what am I looking to experience in the classroom setting for 2 weeks? I mean, you're talking about all this hands-on learning. What can I expect as a student that's going to be, worth my time of coming over for 2 weeks?
So we have built a really fantastic kind of intro to aviation course that we're going to run in the summertime that would be available to you. It will include some classroom components of learning the basics of aviation and what it takes to be a commercial airline pilot. It will also include what we call a discovery flight. So we'll actually take you up. Most of you have never been in a 4-seat plane before. It's a different experience. You might think you've flown commercially, and so maybe I want to be a pilot. Getting in that 4-seater is a very different experience. It's like a car that flies, except for the interior is actually a little smaller than a car. So it's a tight fit, and it really gives you an opportunity to get up in the air and see what things look like. We'll do a little bit of time to let you check out some flight sims. And this isn't Microsoft Flight Sim. This isn't PlayStation Flight Sim. These are the FAA certified flight simulators where you are sitting in the cockpit of a 737 with all of the instruments and all of the screens, and you can check that out. We're going to travel around. We will visit some of our alumni that work at our local international airport. We will visit some museums, including some in local areas and Chicago, because we're actually very close to Chicago. No one knows where Berrien Springs, Michigan is, but they know where Chicago's at. So you can tell your parents you want to go to Chicago to check out a program that they'll at least know where that's at in the country. And then we're adding in a drone component, which is connected to aviation. And that's another perk of our aviation program at Andrews. Because we are FAA certified, we also have an FAA certified drone program. And our students on our campus, through additional coursework, can earn their FAA, it's called 107 and 304, the different levels of certification that you can get, which means you are a commercially licensed drone pilot. And as part of this drone program, the aviation program, in the summertime, our students will actually learn how to build their own drone. And these are commercial, these aren't the little tiny drones, these are commercial drones, and will have the opportunity to bring them home with them. So you get to keep the drone that you build. These are commercial drones that are used for surveying, commercial and professional photography, and things like that. And you'll have the opportunity to learn how to work and build those as part of our summer program.
So students will be acting hands-on, piloting those drones, learning all the basics, and then they're taking that drone home with them to India.
That is our plan, yes.
It's a wonderful thing. I I wish I would have had that opportunity when I was their age.
Me too. We didn't have drones when I was
No.
your age, so it's a really exciting, and it's connected to, you know. So let's say you decide you want to come for aviation, and then you start getting in the planes, and it's not for you. Well, here's the other perk of our College of Business and Professional Studies. There are related degrees. So our computer science program is under the same college structure. And the computer science program is also connected to the drones because you must learn how to fly the drones. But there are a lot of applications where coding is taught through drone flight. So with aviation, you are learning how to manually fly the drones. Through computer science, you are learning how to program the drones to do what you want. And so some students may come for one program and decide to slide into something that fits their long-term goals better. So maybe you decide that the flight of airplanes is not for you, but the coding and flight of drones is. And it all actually falls under that FAA certification.
That's amazing. So the students are going to have a lot of opportunities, it sounds like, depending on your field, coding, drone maintenance, even talking about further on the master's in business. If I'm a student looking at this and I want to know kind of what has Andrew's success been with this aviation program thus far? I mean, what are students doing? How is this program being received
Yep.
in the US and by other flight companies? What would students be looking at kind of in those terms?
So I'll start with the basics. Our two basic aviation programs, flight and maintenance, are driving students towards being either airline mechanics or commercial airline pilots. That is the most common destination for our students, and every year our students are being hired at large airports by the large international regional employers. The airlines I mentioned, United, American, Delta, our students work for them. I would be remiss if I didn't mention this program. I keep saying flight and maintenance. We actually offer a combined flight and maintenance program. And so one of our recent alumni, his name's Kenji, he's from Japan. He actually works down at South Bend Regional Airport, which is a US airport that flies to Canada. That's about 20 miles away from us. And he works for a large private company that has their own executive jet, their own 14-passenger executive Learjet. Because he did the flight and maintenance program, he is the pilot for their executive jet, and he's also the maintenance man for their executive jet. So they don't have to hire two people. They just hired Kenji and pay him a whole lot more to do so. So we have that option as well. If you don't want to work for one of the big companies, maybe you work for a regional company or a private company. I believe he's working for AMC, which is the company that makes Hummers. The big military vehicles, those are actually built in South Bend, Indiana. And there's constantly government people, military people, executives flying back and forth, and he runs that little plant for us down there. We also have a very well-known alumni who lives in Tennessee. He owns and operates the largest private executive jet company in the South. He's got a fleet of 4 jets, and he works with big companies like General Motors and IBM and Microsoft because very rich people don't fly commercial. Executives don't fly commercial, they fly on private jets. And he owns a regional jet company where he's got a team of pilots who he always hires from Andrews because he's one of our alumni that are flying executives around the country to their meetings. If you're if you're a big time executive and you live in New York City and you need a meeting in Atlanta, well, it's only a 2-hour flight. You fly down in the morning, you take your meeting, you fly home, and you sleep in your own bed at night. That's the perk of being an executive, and that's what executive jets do. So yes, our students, some of them go into standard commercial aviation, some of them go into standard commercial maintenance, some of them start their own businesses. The sky's the limit with aviation. Taking a step down to talk about the drones. The drone is not a degree, it's a certification. And what's great about that certification is aerial surveying is a huge business in the US and globally. And our students that do the drone program and get their FAA 106 certification, which means they're allowed to work commercially and professionally with the drone, they're allowed to fly it over people, vehicles, and commercial buildings without a permit because the FAA certification does that. They're 19, 20 years old, still in college, and they are going out in the summertime and getting summer jobs working for surveying companies, making $30 to $40 an hour as a summer job, which is huge money. So even at a lower level, like the drone program, there are career, business, or a phrase we use in the US, side hustle opportunities through the drone program as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. I mean, so looking at that, if I'm a student and I'm coming to this program, am I receiving some sort of certification or anything after this program with that drone when I go home? I don't know the laws in India per se,
Right. No, so
but
you will earn a certificate from Andrews University, but it will not be the FAA certificate because that, takes hundreds of hours in time, but we are going to issue you a certificate for the end of this program, which is not going to open the door to careers and jobs and things like that. But it is an additional certification, or in the US, we use the terminology micro credential that you can add to your resume. And as you are applying for jobs as a young person or colleges or universities, having these extra little certifications on your resume or CV are going to be very helpful for you because it says, I did this extra thing. It's the kind of thing that, regardless of where you choose to go to college, you can write about in your college essay. You can say, I did this program to further my experience and study, what you learned from it. And it's going to open doors for you elsewhere because they're going to say, this is a well-rounded student that tried something else.
and so if I'm a student, some of my students have been asking in the chat here, they're wondering if I come to this program, do I need to already be, from age 4 interested in piloting? Do I need to have prerequisites? Do I need to be the best math student or science student? Do I need to have been in the cockpit before? What do I need to know coming into your program so I'm not behind?
Correct. So for our summer program, the summer program is designed for any student. It could be for those who've been thinking for 10 years that they want to be a pilot. It can be for those that are inspired because they saw the flyer. There is no experience and no background required to do our summer program. I will also say that even the degree program, requires no experience or background. The program is built to start with a person with no experience and move up. If you come to us with flight hours already, that takes down from the 1,000 that you have to get. If you have your own private pilot's license, it means that you don't have to take the private pilot ground school. But if you come to us with zero experience, that is okay.
And
It's an area that we expect that.
oh, do students have to be worried? Let's say I'm a student who's interested in aviation, and I've met a lot of these students in India. I think there's just a lot of opportunities there as well as in the US.
Mhm.
Do I have to worry about when I graduate with a pilot's license, if I don't do something like the MBA or anything like that, that I'm gonna, not have opportunities, that I'm gonna be a pilot without a job?
Right. So I will say there right now, there is no such thing as a pilot without a job. There is a global pilot shortage, which is only going to get worse over the next 10 years. There is, for every job that's like retired, is not being filled with new pilots. Just in the US, we have a 10,000 pilot shortage per year. Every year we have 10,000 less pilots than the year before. So a student that, if you go through and do all of your pilot's license and get commercial certification, you're almost guaranteed a job, a very good paying job. So you do not have to do a master's degree or anything like that. It's a perk that we offer, that's something for you to consider. I will say that we do offer an associate's degree. That is a 2-year degree in aviation flight. And you can get your commercial airlines pilot with the associate degree as well. Now, it requires, remember I told you about those 1,500 hours, and a bachelor's degree only requires 1,000. An associate's degree still gets you a reduction, but you have to do 1,250. So you do 250 more flight hours with an associate's degree than you do a bachelor's degree. So, but we do have that option as well. If you think, can I get in and out in 2 years? It's possible, and you can still go into the aviation industry.
That's amazing. So, students looking at this, one of the perks of kind of the MCA program is students can get a kind of a year ahead, or they can get the enrollment credits right now by taking courses like yours.
Mm-hmm.
Are those courses going to help them get ahead in this aviation program? Or do they have to worry that they're still going to be taking 5, 6 years of college for aviation?
Correct. So, with the partnership with MCA, all of the Michigan College Alliance colleges, we're planning to offer some online courses for you. Andrews University is going to be offering some general education courses that are online. I'll explain what that means. I mentioned that we're a liberal arts college and we have a broad educational experience. In the US, your degree, your Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Nursing, whatever it is, will be made up of 3 things. The core is your major. That one's obvious. I'm studying business. I'm studying engineering. Then every program in the US has what's called a general education package. That's that liberal arts package. And it tends to be, about a quarter of your major. And then whatever's left over, we call electives. Some majors have electives, some majors don't. So the courses that we're offering, these general education courses, will allow you to start taking classes that are required for your degree, not your major, but for your degree. You still need them to graduate while you're still in high school, which will give you flexibility to finish your degree on time. Now, some students say, well, can I knock out my whole first year of college by doing classes while I'm still in high school? It's a very difficult thing to do, because in college, our degrees are built to be 4 years. That is standard in the US. And so the classes build on top of each other. And our programs are built that you take this class your freshman year to learn knowledge, to take this course your sophomore year, to take a different course your junior year. So even if you take lots and lots of general education, in high school or secondary school, it doesn't mean you'll graduate early. What it does mean is it gives you the flexibility to maybe you have a semester where you need to take some really difficult courses. And rather than taking 5 classes, which is a normal semester in America, you'll take 5 classes per semester. Well, you already did some in high school, so you're only going to take 4 this semester. So you can focus on some really hard classes and you won't fall behind because you did something in high school. So the regardless of where you go to school, and we'd love to see you come to Andrews or an MCA school, but wherever you go in the US, the classes you take through Andrews can transfer. We started this whole talk off by me mentioning accreditation. When you are an accredited school, your credits will transfer to other accredited schools. So even if you try a class out through Andrews and you say, I really liked this class, but Andrews isn't the school for me, that's okay. That class can follow you to whatever American school you go to and help you with your graduation requirements. So we will be offering some online. Some of them will be, to use some technical terms, some of them will be synchronous. That's what we're doing right now. It's live. You'll meet synchronously. Some of them are what we call asynchronous. It basically means that you will have a learning platform with the lectures, reading materials, maybe links to some YouTube videos, but there's no live interaction. You work through it on your own. We'll have both models available for you online that you can take. We also have great summer programs. We've talked about the drone and aviation program we're going to do this summer. That's earning college credit. That's a perk as well. You're earning college credit. And then we're also going to have some other general education summer programs down the road as well, that if you want to spend a summer in the US and learn more about the US educational system, maybe tour around Michigan and learn about the Great Lakes State, or the Mitten State, as we sometimes call it, you'll have that opportunity as well.
And so, if I'm a student who's looking to come over for this awesome summer program in aviation to earn college credits, to get a chance on a flight simulator, to even fly up in the sky and get my own personal drone, there's some other activities too that we had talked about before that will be offered related to the aviation component on the weekends and kind of in the evenings. Would you be
Yes,
able to talk about those extra activities as well?
absolutely. So, in addition to being a great learning experience, earning some college credits, and earning a Andrews certificate in programming with basics of flight in drones, we're also going to have some fun. It's a cultural experience as well. We're going to bring you to the big city. We're going to go to Chicago. We're going to visit some museums. We're going to go to the Air and Space Museum in Chicago, which is a huge museum in Chicago. Actually was built for the 1901 World's Fair that was held in Chicago. It's one of the few remaining buildings in that complex. And Jacob and Abby, this is where our history majors come and play. We know these things as part of the World's Fair complex that was built back in the day. We're going to go to a lot of cities around Michigan, some smaller cities, to visit sites, to visit airports, to Kalamazoo, which is a funny name here in America. There's what we call the Air Zoo, which is a great opportunity for you to actually like visit. It's kind of like an aviation museum where you can like sit in the cockpit of jets and things like that, and really like learn about the world of aviation. Then we're gonna do some cultural things. We'll go to some sporting events. We're gonna eat some good food. We're gonna go to the beach and have fun. There will be fun in addition to your classroom learning.
That's wonderful. So a student doesn't have to worry about being in the classroom the whole time. They get to experience America being in America. The
That's
trip to
correct.
Chicago is wonderful. I mean, that's one of our biggest cities. It's a city that most students, when they come to the US, want to see. Most foreigners, it's a huge travel hub. Well, that's amazing to hear. I was looking through kind of some of the questions here, and I think some of them are a little bit more general. But one student did ask if they were interested in coming to Andrews University,
Mhm.
what kind of is the process forward? So first thing they'd want to do is they're saying they want to go to this aviation program, take
Sure.
some of these general credits online to get ahead, like you said. But
Mhm.
do they have to worry about the SAT? Do they have to worry about the resume if they're going through kind of the MCA side of things?
Right. So for our summer programs, we simply require a grade verification and completing, at least for Andrews, you have to have finished the ninth grade for our some of our on-campus programs. So we take 10th, 11th, 12th grade in secondary school, and then MCA verifies your GPA. And just so you know, we are all experts in international education. So sometimes students will say, well, we don't really do GPA, or our grading scale is different at my school and my country. We know that. And we're going to be gracious and we're going to be kind and we'll understand that we will judge you on the scales in your country. We're not going to take the classic American scale and try and fit you in. So for the summer programs, we do not require essays. We do not require standardized test scores. Those are things that will probably be required of you if you decide you want to go someplace for a degree. Um, Over the past 3 years, many places in the United States have adopted a test optional policy. Explain what that means. Most colleges and universities in the US required ACT or SAT scores. SAT is more common internationally. During COVID, it became very difficult to take those exams, so many schools adopted a test optional policy. Andrews University is one of those schools. So we used to require the SAT, but we did not require an essay. We have now swapped. If you choose not to do the SAT, we need a little more information from you. So we're going to require an essay as well. But you can gain entrance to Andrews University without the SAT. I will mention a perk to the SAT. Andrews and most colleges and universities like Andrews award scholarships based on SAT scores. So Andrews has a base scholarship that is available to all students and even international students. So let me say this is a perk of Andrews and going to a school with a large international student population. We do not treat you differently. You pay the same tuition as domestic students, which is not the case at all schools. Some schools charge more, particularly state schools charge more to international students. We do not. You pay the same tuition, the same fees, and you qualify for the same scholarships as our domestic students. We treat you no differently. So every student, even from India, will receive an academic scholarship that is based off of your grades, your secondary school grades, or your exams, your GCSEs or things like that. You can get more by taking the SAT and having good SAT scores. So while even if you decide to go the test optional route, you might want to consider that you can earn yourself more free money. That's really what scholarships are, free money to pay for school with SAT scores.
Wonderful. Wow. Okay. So students have the option to now come in and have other means to get scholarships, which is a wonderful thing. We know that, as you said at the beginning of this webinar, college is expensive no matter where you go for students, but it is an investment.
Right.
And so one thing I want to ask, and this is something we've been asked a lot recently by our students, and I think you can speak best to this.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, if I'm a student or a parent over in India, and I'm taking a big gamble, maybe I don't have family over here, I've never been to the US, and I'm coming over here for the first time, either for the summer program or to come to Andrews University. Is this a worthwhile opportunity for me to take? Is this something that I'm going to maybe regret later? I mean, do you have a lot of international students who come and they're saying, I want to leave, I drop out? Or are
Right.
these students happy when they graduate from these other countries?
So I'm going to make a very bold statement and say that universally, international students are very happy with their experience with Andrews University. We wouldn't have students from over 100 countries on campus. We wouldn't be ranked number one for international students if we didn't provide a great international experience. I will also say that studying internationally is one of the most important things you can do as part of your educational experience. I did. I studied in the UK. I studied in London, and it was one of the best things that I did. I did an academic summer program in Greece. One of the best things I ever did. Two of my favorite life experiences was learning in another country. For you, that can be coming to the US. You will be taken, we will take very good care of you. Between the MCA teams and our campus teams, we have a whole cohort of people not micromanaging your time, not looking over your shoulder, but we're dedicated to making sure that you are safe, that you are healthy, that you are happy, that you are enjoying your experience. If you come to a program at Andrews, again, a bold statement, you will meet me. I will probably be running your program here at Andrews, and there's a very high likelihood that I'm probably going to be meeting you at the airport in Chicago as well. So we offer a very nice personalized experience for you, and it's a great, safe way to see if this is what you want to do. So the summer program is low stakes. It's a few weeks. Even if I can't imagine you will, but if there is the one student out there that does not enjoy their experience, but you still had a really nice and fun time in the US, even if you write it off as a vacation, you got something out of it. But students who come for a degree program, they tend to really like the American educational system, and they also like our campus. We've had great experience with students.
Well, Andrew, we are coming in. I'm sorry, I just called you Andrew. Andrews
Yeah,
University.
yeah, it's
Aaron,
okay.
you are so associated in my mind with Andrews University. You're kind of the face of it that I've been seeing as I work through MCA. Mr. Aaron, sir, it's been a wonderful time. As we're wrapping this up, we do try to keep them at an hour for students. But what I always like to say is give the individual on here, the panelists, an opportunity. If there is anything that we missed in our questions, or anything that you can think of that you want to sign off with, before I give the students the next steps, so they
Mhm.
can sign up to meet you in Chicago this June at the airport and come with you to Andrews University and take this aviation course. Um, what would you have to say to the students?
Yeah, I would like to wrap up to encourage you all to be bold and try something out that you may be a little uncomfortable with. Everyone in life questions if the financial decisions they're making, if the money they're spending is well spent. I am very confident that if you give an MCA program a try, especially these summer programs, if you give the Andrews University Summer Aviation Program a try, you will not regret your decision to do so. You are going to learn great career related things about aviation, technology, drone flight, even a little bit on the computing end. You're going to have a wonderful time in the summer, and it is so beautiful in Michigan in the summertime. I challenge you all to Google it, check out what the weather is like in June. It is a beautiful place to visit, and you'll have lots of fun meeting new people. You will not regret trying out one of these summer programs, and we would love to have you on our campus and get an opportunity to meet and learn together.
Well, that is a wonderful way, I think, to step off here. Before we let Mr. Aaron go, I want to let everyone know that in the chat, Miss Abby Swanson, who is our lead program manager for Access MCA, she kind of carries the entire program on her back. She has put a form there for you. And in that form, if you are interested in joining the aviation program, you can fill it out. All it's going to ask for is your information. And what we will do is we will follow up with you from there to make sure that everything is covered. We cover the visa, we cover the flights, we make sure everything is covered all the way to the airport, all the way through campus, and then all the way back. And so we will help you through that process on what would be the next steps for you. If you are interested in joining Mr. Aaron and the great Andrews team for this aviation program in June, we'd be excited to have you. And so I am going to allow Mr. Aaron, he's a busy man, to get back to his work. He has a lot of students to work with at Andrews University. And I will leave the screen up for the rest of you for a few minutes to allow you to sign up for that program. There'll also be an email right after this indicating any of the questions that were asked to us during this meeting, and we will be filling those out for you and shipping them out so everyone can see. And we will also be shipping out the form there in case you miss it on screen. And so we want to give you all this opportunity to do that now. Thank you very much, Mr. Aaron. It's been a wonderful opportunity. I think the students learned a lot, and I'm sold. I mean, I don't think I'm allowed to sign up for the program anymore now that I'm graduated. But if you have an extra spot, I'd absolutely take it.
Fantastic. Thank you everybody for spending an hour with us this evening. It was really nice to meet with you all and look forward to hopefully meeting some of you in person in the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Have a great day.